Uranium, a heavy metal hidden in the Earth's crust, holds the power to both light up cities and destroy them. In the 20th century, scientists discovered nuclear fission, splitting uranium atoms to unleash vast energy. Controlled, this process powers reactors with clean electricity and minimal carbon emissions, promising energy independence and progress. Uncontrolled, it creates nuclear weapons, capable of devastation on a scale humanity can barely imagine. This duality makes uranium's use one of the most sensitive issues in global politics, as peaceful energy programs can be diverted to weapons. The world's challenge, balancing a nation's right to nuclear energy with the urgent need to prevent nuclear proliferation. The International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, is the world's nuclear watchdog, playing a crucial role in maintaining global peace and security. Its mission is to ensure that nuclear energy is used safely and responsibly, and that it never becomes a tool for destruction. The IAEA operates at the intersection of science, diplomacy, and international law, bringing together experts from around the world to address one of humanity's most pressing challenges: the control of nuclear technology. Founded in 1957, in the aftermath of World War II and the dawn of the nuclear age, the IAEA was established to ensure nuclear technology is used only for peaceful purposes, such as generating electricity, advancing medicine, and supporting scientific research. Its creation reflected the world's hope that the atom could be a force for good, not a source of fear. The IAEA's inspectors are at the heart of its mission. They travel to nuclear facilities in countries like Iran, which are signatories to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, to verify that these nations honor their pledge not to pursue nuclear weapons. Through rigorous inspections, they help ensure that nuclear material is not diverted for military use. The agency uses a combination of advanced surveillance systems, tamper-proof seals, and environmental sampling to track every gram of nuclear material. These tools allow inspectors to detect even the smallest discrepancies, providing a high level of confidence in their findings. Their work is not just technical, it's also diplomatic. By building trust between nations, the IAEA helps prevent misunderstandings and provides early warning if a country's nuclear program veers off course. This transparency is essential for global stability. If inspectors are denied access to a facility, or if they uncover undeclared nuclear activities, the IAEA immediately reports these concerns to the United Nations Security Council. This can trigger diplomatic action, sanctions, or other global consequences, underscoring the seriousness of the agency's work. While the agency itself cannot impose sanctions or use force, its findings carry significant weight. The IAEA's reports shape international responses and influence the decisions of world leaders, making it a key player in the global effort to prevent nuclear proliferation. In a world often marked by suspicion and uncertainty, the IAEA's technical verification and impartial oversight form the backbone of nuclear security, helping to keep the world safe from the threat of nuclear weapons. Iran's nuclear ambitions date back to the 1950s, when the country first began exploring atomic energy with support from Western nations. In those early years, nuclear research was seen as a symbol of progress and modernity, with Iranian scientists working alongside international partners to develop peaceful nuclear technology. The world watched as Iran built its first research reactors, laying the groundwork for what would become a decades-long journey into the nuclear age. But controversy erupted in the 2000s with the discovery of secret enrichment sites at Natanz and Fordo. These revelations shocked the international community, raising fears that Iran's nuclear program might not be as transparent as once believed. Suddenly, questions about Iran's true intentions dominated headlines, and the world's attention turned to the hidden depths of its nuclear activities. Iran insists its program is peaceful, citing its right to nuclear technology for energy and medicine. Officials point to the country's growing need for electricity and advanced medical treatments, arguing that nuclear science is essential for national development. They maintain that, like any sovereign nation, Iran should be allowed to harness atomic energy for the benefit of its people. Yet, the same enrichment technology that powers reactors can also produce weapons-grade uranium, fueling deep mistrust among other nations. The dual-use nature of nuclear technology means that peaceful intentions can quickly be called into question, especially when transparency is lacking. The IAEA found evidence of past weapons work and undeclared activities, casting doubt on Iran's intentions. Inspectors uncovered documents and traces of materials that suggested research beyond civilian needs, further complicating the international response and deepening suspicions. Years of sanctions and tense negotiations eventually led to the 2015 nuclear deal, an agreement that imposed strict limits on Iran's nuclear activities and allowed for intrusive inspections, all in exchange for much-needed sanctions relief. The deal was hailed as a diplomatic breakthrough, offering hope for a more stable Middle East and a path toward rebuilding trust. For a time, Iran complied, and international inspectors verified its adherence to the deal's terms. But the 2018 U.S. withdrawal unraveled the agreement, prompting Iran to ramp up enrichment again and reigniting global fears about a potential nuclear arms race in the region. The cycle of suspicion and escalation has left the world questioning Iran's true nuclear aims. Each new development is met with skepticism, and diplomatic efforts are often overshadowed by mutual distrust and political maneuvering. At the heart of the crisis lies a fundamental problem: trust shattered by secrecy, shifting commitments, and a history of broken promises. The world continues to watch, hoping for a resolution, but wary of what the future may hold. In June 2025, the standoff exploded. Israeli and U.S. airstrikes targeted Iran's key nuclear sites at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. The attacks crippled infrastructure but left Iran's nuclear expertise intact, making the setback temporary. In retaliation, Iran cut off all IAEA access to the damaged sites, plunging the world into an information blackout. For 5 months, inspectors have been blind to Iran's uranium stockpiles and activities. The strikes, meant to halt the program, instead destroyed transparency and fueled uncertainty. The IAEA lost its continuity of knowledge, unable to verify if uranium was moved, enriched, or hidden. The world is left guessing, with the risk of miscalculation higher than ever, the conflict's unintended consequence, a more opaque and dangerous nuclear crisis. The world's alarm is focused on Iran's rapidly growing stockpile of highly enriched uranium, now exceeding 440 kilograms at 60% purity. This level of enrichment is alarmingly close to weapons grade, and it represents a significant technical achievement that has set off international concern. The sheer quantity and purity of this uranium mean that Iran is just a short technical step away from having the material needed for nuclear weapons, a scenario that has long been feared by the global community. To put this in perspective, enriching uranium to 20% is already considered 90% of the technical work required to make a bomb. The jump from 60% to the 90% purity needed for weapons is much faster and easier than the earlier stages, making the current situation especially urgent. This is why experts are sounding the alarm. With this stockpile, Iran could theoretically produce enough weapons-grade uranium for about 10 nuclear bombs if it chose to further enrich the material. This capability places Iran in the category of a threshold state, a nation that is on the brink of becoming a nuclear-armed power, but has not yet crossed that line. The situation is made even more troubling by a 5-month blackout in international monitoring. During this period, inspectors have been unable to verify the status of Iran's uranium. No one outside Iran knows if the material has been moved, hidden, or secretly enriched further, creating a dangerous information gap. Iran stands alone as the only non-nuclear armed country enriching uranium to such high levels. This unprecedented move has raised fears that Iran could rapidly break out and assemble a nuclear weapon before the world can react, undermining decades of non-proliferation efforts. The International Atomic Energy Agency and the United Nations have both issued stern warnings. They argue that Iran's actions set a dangerous precedent, threatening the integrity of the entire global non-proliferation regime and making it harder to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons elsewhere. The lack of transparency and answers from Iran has fueled widespread speculation and fear. This uncertainty is not just a local issue, it is destabilizing the Middle East and sending shockwaves throughout the world, as governments and citizens alike worry about what might happen next. The stakes are incredibly high. At risk is not only the question of Iran's intentions, but the very future of global nuclear security, and the fragile balance that has kept nuclear weapons in check for decades. The standoff is now a clash of principles: Iran's sovereignty versus the IAEA's mandate for transparency. The IAEA insists that safeguards are non-negotiable, even during conflict, and demands a full accounting of Iran's nuclear material. Without access, The agency cannot assure the world that Iran's program is peaceful. Iran, citing the June airstrikes as acts of aggression, now ties future cooperation to its own Security Council's decisions. Tehran argues it cannot allow inspections while under threat, viewing demands for access as political pressure, not technical necessity. Sanctions and military threats have hardened Iran's stance, turning cooperation into a bargaining chip. The IAEA, caught in the middle, sees its technical mission undermined by politics. Each side feels justified, deepening mistrust and making compromise elusive. The result? A deadlock with global consequences. After the June conflict, brief diplomatic progress was made, a temporary deal for limited inspections at undamaged sites. But hopes faded as Iran refused full access and talks with the US stalled. European powers triggered the snapback of UN sanctions, punishing Iran for non-compliance. Tehran retaliated by halting even limited cooperation, feeling unfairly targeted after being attacked. The cycle of strikes, sanctions, and broken agreements has left diplomacy in ruins. The IAEA's technical mission is hostage to political confrontation, with no negotiations in sight. The world faces a dangerous, unmonitored nuclear program and a deepening chasm of mistrust. Nuclear verification is the foundation of global security, ensuring countries honor their pledge not to build nuclear weapons. When verification fails, as in Iran, the system crumbles. Guesswork replaces facts, and fear fills the void. Regional rivals may assume the worst, risking arms races or preemptive strikes. Unmonitored uranium could shift the global balance of power or fall into terrorist hands. The IAEA's call to restore inspections is about more than Iran. It's about preserving decades of non-proliferation progress. Without transparency, nuclear technology becomes a threat, not a promise. The ability to verify is what separates managed risk from chaos. In the dark, the stakes for humanity could not be higher. As of November 2025, the world faces a perilous standoff. Iran's enriched uranium is unmonitored, its intentions unknown. The June strikes shattered fragile transparency, and failed diplomacy has deepened the crisis. Iran claims its right to peaceful nuclear energy. The IAEA demands accountability under international law. With trust gone and communication closed, the risk of miscalculation is acute. The IAEA's urgent plea for access is a last chance to avert disaster. The outcome will shape the future of nuclear security for all. Until then, the world waits, caught between hope for peace and the shadow of the bomb.